Welcome to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Gaynor Speaks. I am your host, Dr. Brianna Gaynor, and welcome back. We have been doing this mini series for the past several weeks about going back to school, transitioning as an adult learner. We talked about helping our kids transition, middle school, and high school. And we are concluding this mini series with college. How do we thrive and develop the tools that we need when we are coming into this wonderful, very scary journey? So, welcome back. Please feel free to share this with anyone who you think it could be helpful to. And please stay tuned because I do have some wonderful tips that I think are going to help. So, this week for Wellness Wednesday, we are concluding this mini series with talking about how to thrive in college. So I want to provide some mental health and wellness tips to help you with this huge transition. Let's face it, college is exciting. It's a time of personal growth, but there's also a lot of stress and adjustment. It's the time where we are moving from a lot of times our parents' home and the support that we have to having some independence. A lot of times we are moving onto campus and a lot is required. This is a time where you are expected to do a lot of things on your own to really be able to handle your schedule, where you don't necessarily have the support, the backing, and the reminders that you may have had in high school. And so while it's exciting to get away and have the freedom and be able to make choices that you want, there's also a lot of responsibility that comes with it. So let's talk about some strategies to help in moving forward in that process to help us be successful. And so the first thing we have to talk about before we talk about how to be successful at college is to talk about homesickness. It is so normal to be homesick and have some struggle with adjusting to a new environment. I grew up in New Jersey and I went to college at Drexel University, which is in Philadelphia. And so my college was 2 hours away. So I could get on the train and get home, but it was still far enough away where I wasn't home every day. And I remember being excited about the opportunity, but I remember that as it set in and I got into the school, I was homesick. And I remember telling this story to someone the other day. I think that I went home probably every other weekend for the first semester. So the first thing I want to say is that homesickness is natural. It's natural to miss what you're used to. It's natural to have a little bit of difficulty adjusting to your new surroundings. And so part of it is being okay with the fact that that may be challenging. It may not be, but if it is, that's okay. And that's absolutely normal. So what do we do to help with the homesickness? One of the things that's really important is as you're transitioning into this newfound life and campus life is that you stay connected to your friends and family. What that may look like is setting up a regular time each week to talk to your loved ones, to talk to your parents, maybe to talk to a close relative, maybe to catch up with your best friends. So maybe you can't talk to everyone once a week, but with all the technology that we have, maybe you and your best friends can arrange for at least every other week or once a month, especially in the first semester, to set up some video calls where you can all talk, you can chat about what's going on in school, and you can give each other tips. It's really important that when you're away from the people you're close to, you still feel connected. And there are so many ways to connect. We can call, we can video chat, we can talk online, but making sure that you're connected to the people that you're close to, that you're still talking, that you're sharing your life in some of the same way you did before can help make the adjustment a little easier. So I would recommend that you don't just try to go cold turkey and start new and not bring some of your old life in, because those important elements are going to help you to be settled and help to develop what your new environment is going to look like. So set up those times to call and set up those times to visit. When can your friends come down to campus to visit you? I remember being excited about my best friends coming to campus because it also gave me an opportunity to plan stuff, to see what was around, to figure out what we could do together. It's helped me to get out of my bubble because then I started exploring because I wanted to be a good host. So considering how you can connect, not just virtually, but in person, is really going to be a way to help you to connect with your loved ones while you are away. Because the truth is, who knows if you will move somewhere, live in another state, and those connections a lot of times are forever. So start investing and maintaining them, especially when they're a little further away. The next thing that's important to help with homesickness is self-care. So what I mean by that are our daily needs that sometimes we don't take into account. So when I'm talking about self-care right now, I'm not talking necessarily about massages or getting your nails done or relaxation. I'm talking about the things that we need every day to help us feel better. One of those things being nutrition, another one being rest, and exercise. Making sure you're doing those things. What are the things that make you feel good? Sometimes when we're transitioning to college, we may not pay attention to those things because maybe your meals were made for you. You didn't have to think about that. You kind of had a certain time that you went to bed and a certain time that you got up. So you were able to get enough sleep. You got exercise because you were on a specific sports team or you were just active on a daily basis. Sometimes when you're moving into college life, your routine is going to be different. So how do you incorporate those things for yourself? So if we're talking about nutrition, the food on campus is not always the healthiest, but what are some healthy options that can help you balance? Not that you don't enjoy what you eat, but a lot of times when we're eating healthier food, we feel better. So how can we balance having a good home cooked meal? Maybe we can go to different restaurants. Maybe we can just really explore the options on campus. Or maybe you can have a night where you cook for yourself. As you grow and develop more friendships, that may be something that you start to enjoy with your roommates. So how do you incorporate these things with nutrition that'll help you feel better? And then maybe you also get to explore things that you haven't explored before, but it's an opportunity to take care of your body. And then with sleep. So if your schedule is different, you may have classes in the morning, you may have them at night. It's really important that you prioritize your rest. That's going to help you have the energy and the momentum to do the things you need to do, to study, to explore, to go to financial aid and have the conversations you need to have. Rest is a priority. So it's really important now that you're thinking about how to schedule that as you're scheduling your classes. Because if you don't give your body the fuel and the rest that it needs, it's not going to work as well as it could for you. And then what does exercise look like? Are there exercise classes? Are you walking around campus? Is there something that you'd like to do? Maybe there's a gym around that you're interested in. How can you move your body? And what I suggest when it comes to moving your body is doing something that you enjoy. You don't need to do something that everyone else does because it's likely not going to be something that you are going to keep up with. So how do you do the things that you enjoy that keep your body moving, that keep you feeling good? And those are the things that can help you with homesickness because it's reminding you of what felt good and what worked for you while or before this transition. The next thing is there's going to be a lot of academic pressure and stress. A lot of what comes with college are new pressures. This is the time where we're really being a lot more specific about what we want to do in the future. Classes can be more challenging and there's just more to lose. So it's really easy to get excited to have a bunch of classes on your schedule and then to experience burnout. But what we're trying to avoid is burnout. And so what that looks like is, first of all, a mix of classes. What are the classes that you enjoy that maybe are related to your major? And maybe there are some classes that you're not quite excited about, but you kind of need to get out of the way. Try not to overload yourself with things that aren't enjoyable or that may be too challenging, but also not overload yourself with things that you will enjoy so much that they'll be fun, but then you'll have no balance in other semesters. Really being able to look at your schedule wholeheartedly so that you have some easy classes and some hard classes, some things you think you'll enjoy, but some things you think that you may need to just kind of get out of the way and start with those things. Really prioritizing the classes that aren't going to be the things that you would prefer and figuring out how you can get those classes done would be important. The other thing is that you have an advisor. So as you are starting school, utilize that support. Talking about classes that may be hard or different professors that may be more challenging and really seeking advice about how to build a good schedule that's going to be conducive to you starting school and being successful. Your advisors are there to help. There are often TAs that have been there longer than you. So utilizing support is going to be the next thing. What are the things that campus provides? Are there learning centers that you can talk to people with? So sometimes, for instance, I do a lot of testing and I test a lot of people who have been previously diagnosed with learning disabilities or diagnoses like ADHD. And so with that, you can get accommodations. We often know that there are accommodations in elementary school and middle school, but not so much in college. But you can absolutely get accommodations. Sometimes we may need extra time. Sometimes we need to take tests in a quiet area. Sometimes you may need tests read to you. There are so many opportunities to get support in school. So talk to your advisor and see how you can get that. If you've had extra help in the past, maybe seeking that. And if you notice that you're struggling a lot more with keeping up with classwork, with staying organized, with procrastination, with being able to focus, with being able to learn certain material, seek some support to maybe get tested. There's no need to struggle when the resources are there. I know it can be very jarring to be in a big environment and not know where to go. Again, that's why your advisor is there. Ask for resources. You'd be surprised at all the help you can get when you ask, which also takes me to the next thing I want to encourage you with, and that's to find out what the mental health services are on your campus. Most campuses have a counseling center, and that's where you can ask about different resources for medication, for therapy, for testing, and they can point you in the right direction. But this is going to be potentially a stressful transition. It's going to be a transition that you've likely never done before. So why not seek support to talk to someone who can help you through those things? Someone who can be a sounding board to help you with this big transition. There is nothing wrong with asking for help, and knowing the help that's available is going to be your first step to seek out the support when you really need it. So don't be afraid to ask questions and see what's available, because you never know when it could really come in handy and be just what you need to help you with your homesickness and to adjust. And then stress management. How do you manage your stress? Have you ever considered meditation or yoga, taking walks, journaling? One of the things I've noticed, one of the things I've noticed, and probably since the pandemic, and definitely more recently, is that I thrive with fresh air and sun. Being able to sit outside really just resets my system. Sometimes I just need to step away. I need to walk outside. I need to feel the sun. What helps you manage stress? A lot of times what helped us manage stress in the past may not be the same, but starting to explore some of those things, because this is likely going to be a stressful time. How do you manage it? A lot of times we need to walk away. Some people do well with distractions. Some people do well with reading. It's perfectly okay if you don't know, but let's try out a few things and let's challenge ourselves to try it for, I would say, at least 2 weeks. Sometimes we try things and it may not work in the moment, but that doesn't mean it won't be an effective strategy later on. But how do we put things in our toolbox that are going to help us later? What are some of the things or ways that we managed stress before? Was it music, creating a playlist, talking to a friend? Sometimes we need to think about what all those things are and write them down, because when we're in a state of stress and tension, we're not thinking about all the things, but you likely have a list. And so the more you can bring to your toolbox, the better you will be. So starting to consider how you manage stress and trying some new things may be very, very helpful to help you transition and thrive in college. And then finally, let's talk about building resilience. One of the most challenging things that can happen is when you are assigned a roommate that you don't know. Sometimes it can go really well, but we have all probably heard horror stories. So part of what can help with that adjustment is setting boundaries. What does it look like to live with someone for you? Maybe you've never lived with anyone except your family, so you're just kind of used to the way your family does things. I guarantee you, once you move in with a roommate, you will figure out there may be a few things that won't work for you. So what does that look like? Is there a common space where maybe part of the boundaries that we create are creating cleaning schedules for different people to clean at different times. What are we doing about sharing? Are we sharing food? Are we sharing items? Are we sharing resources? Are we not sharing? Talking about what our expectations are. If there's an issue, if I'm uncomfortable with company, is that something you want to talk about? Do I need to send you a text and schedule a time to talk? Can we talk about it in the moment? How do we work through some of the issues that are going to come up? Having those conversations in the beginning can be really important, but a lot of times there are inevitably going to be challenges that are going to come up that maybe you didn't think of. And being willing to have those hard conversations is important. But what I would recommend is, as you're meeting your roommate, talk about, if there's a problem, how would you want me to approach you? How would you want that conversation to be facilitated? Would you want me to would you want us to talk about setting a time, or could I bring it to you right then and there? What would be the approach that wouldn't work for you? I'm a straightforward person. Maybe you're someone who's more sensitive. Would you want me to kind of tell you these are my concerns? Is it okay if I just tell you everything that I'm feeling, or should I write it down? People deal with stress and conflict differently. And the other thing to consider is that how I think I deal with conflict may be very different in the moment, and that's okay. But having the conversation, knowing that there are going to be challenging times, and working to communicate with your roommate is going to be important. Also consider that there is an RA who can also help with these conflict resolution skills and creating boundaries. But thinking about what works for you and being open to revising that and looking back at it as you get into living with someone is going to be a good idea. You're not going to know everything at the beginning, and that's okay. But being open and having open communication is going to be really helpful. So that is what I would recommend. Start the conversation and being willing to come back to the conversation whenever necessary. And then let's talk a little bit about finances. So financial literacy. This is likely a time when there will be some money that you will have to manage. Maybe you'll have an on-campus job. Maybe your parents will send you money. Maybe you have a stipend and you are expected to kind of buy your groceries, maybe pay for some basic bills. How do you budget? Have you ever had to budget before? Is this a conversation that you can have with your parents? Are they good with those kind of things? Do you trust that those are the people that you can talk to about some of these skills? Or do you know someone who's maybe good with budgeting? Or maybe you can utilize some resources online. There are a lot of budgeting tools like Rocket Money, where you can put in what your pay is, you can put in what your bills are, you can put in what your goals are, and they really help you to prioritize and create a budget based on what your needs are, really helping you see where your money's going, where you're spending, maybe where you're spending too much, and really helping you to prioritize financial literacy. This doesn't have to be something that you know, but it can always be something that you can learn. Keep in mind, I know all of this is a lot of information. It can be overwhelming, but going back to understanding the resources that are available to you can be helpful. Even talking about how to budget and financial literacy and asking questions about being able to manage stress with your roommates is also something that you can seek out in therapy at on your campus. So know that there's always help and an answer if you need it. And finally, give yourself grace. There are a lot of steps that will be important for you to be successful, but also recognizing that it's your first time in college. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be mishaps. There are going to be mistakes that you're going to make, and you're human, and that's okay. But be committed to learning, be committed to asking questions, and be committed to willing to hear other opinions as you're navigating this very new experience. And finally, utilize your resources in your life. Talk to friends, talk to family, talk to close people who've been through this before. They have a wealth of information from the mistakes that they've made and the things that have worked well. Never be afraid to ask questions, because that's how we learn. And then one day you will be that person who can pass down that information to someone else. So the information you get, you pass it on, and the blessing that you were able to receive, eventually you'll be able to do the same. I wish you the best of luck in college. I know that you will thrive, and give yourself a chance to adjust and know that it will all work out. This has been Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Brianna Gaynor, and I hope that this series has been helpful in helping adjust to this new transition in life. So transitioning feels tough on all of us, right? But I do want to give you another resource. This is my new book called Nina's Smile. So it's a book unlike any other children's book. It's really about the whole family. We want to help you process and work through your emotions, learn what resilience looks like, and how you deal with tough things. So one more feature that I want to show you in the book is that there's a workbook in the back. You can't necessarily see the words, but what the workbook does is it really helps you to not only just go through what's going on in the book, but it helps you to consider feelings. It helps you to kind of identify some times that were difficult and how you were able to move into hope and resilience. It teaches you how to face hardship and helps you to see that you are much stronger than you probably even consider that you are. It's a resource that is not only for kids, but it's for the whole family. And it helps us see that difficult times really do help us to be the best versions of ourselves. You can find Nina's Smile on Amazon and drbriannagaynor.com. Once again, this has been Wellness Wednesday, and we will see you on the next Wellness Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you again. See you soon. Bye.